As time passes by, the younger generations find themselves getting closer to entering the professional world. They are faced with life-changing decisions that could directly affect their futures. What are some major decisions they're making? Well, some choose to go to college, others immediately enter the workforce, join the military, and some just do nothing. Regardless of their choices, they are the future. As this less judgmental, driven generation assumes their roles in society, what complications could surface, and what changes are inevitable? That's me, Tyler. I'm at Big Mojo's Tattoo Parlor, right outside of Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Here I am, about to get my first tattoo. But I didn't make the decision overnight. I've been interviewing and analyzing the pros and cons of tattooing amongst the older and younger generations alike. Let's see what some professionals have to say.
So my name's Alex Heckert. I'm a professor of sociology at Indiana University of Pennsylvania. I trained at the University of Iowa for my doctoral degree. My areas were family sociology and sociology of deviance and crime. So some of the research I've done has been in the area of deviance. And so tattoo literature, some of it actually gets published in the deviant behavior type journals.
It seems to me, just speaking anecdotally, that there are a lot more than what I used to see, and also that they are a lot more visible than what they might have been once upon a time, and that there's lots of them that are political, which I kind of like, but there are others, particularly I want to say among women, that are either of a personal connection, like something for a family member, or something that's just perceived to be attractive or pretty, okay? But it does seem to be something I would almost, in an uninformed opinion, refer to as a fad. I've got 2 of my 3 kids, college age, have tattoos. The man I'm dating, who is a businessman, had some comments about it, that his only hope was that they were put in places that aren't going to show in a job interview, because they would absolutely be looked on negatively in a professional or business context.
I think that certainly we try within the context of our peer group to do things, engage in behavior that's going to get us recognized. And so I think certainly cool tattoos, I think, do get peer recognition. Folks will say that's really cool. And so those social rewards are very, very important, I think. So I would agree that that there are definitely some social rewards from tattooing. Now there can be some costs associated as well. If you get a full sleeve and you apply for a job at a bank, you better wear long sleeves for the job. I still think there's probably some bias in certain business sectors.
Well, so right off the bat we're hearing words like negativity and bias in the professional world. Let's talk to some students that are getting ready to enter their career track to see what they have to say.
My thoughts about tattoos.
If you get one that has like a whole bunch of writing on it but don't know what it means, the point in blowing your money on something like that.
People get tattoos, they really have no meaning. They can't understand them. And they get them in some of the strangest places for no reason.
I feel like it's a great form of self-expression.
Like, this is who I am, or you just express yourself, or it's something that you like. It's just like a way of expressing yourself through like art, but like on something that you can keep around with you at all times.
I think tattooing is something that you should only do if you should just go to the store and just pick out a random tattoo off the wall. You should go get something that actually means something to you.
I mean, I don't have any, but I don't know, if the time's right and I get an idea for one, I'll get one.
I think it's a good form of expression. I don't think that people should be judged upon what they have or where they have it. I know it's a big deal with getting like jobs nowadays.
That's why I got mine. I hate people that go in there and just like, they get like Chinese symbols or tribal tattoos that they have no idea what it means. I think that's pointless, stupid.
Well, I definitely like my females with tattoos. I don't have too many, I have 2. They equal 1.
My mom always said that it wasn't like the best idea. She was never really into them. My dad, he didn't really care.
I just think that it's the individual's decision to get the tattoo.
I feel like they're very expressive. I feel like it's a way to tell a story about yourself. It's also a way to, add some pizzazz to your life in a way.
I always feel like if it's gonna be a tattoo, it has to be something that's gonna be meaningful to me the rest of my life. It's gonna be on my body the rest of my life. So you know, I have to genuinely care about what I get a tattoo about.
It's your body. It's your temple. You can decorate it however you want to.
I think that it's a permanent thing that you want temporarily, and then you end up having on you forever.
I love tattoos. I think they're a good expression of art and of the artist doing it. And I think that as long as it's something that means something to you and has a good meaning behind it, that they're pretty cool and you can do a lot with them. So I'm all for them.
I love tattoos. Like, if it weren't for my mom telling me if I got another one, I'd probably have whole sleeve.
I do got a problem with girls with sleeves.
And I don't think it's rebellious in any way. I don't think there's any real social mores or norms against it. In fact, I think tattoos are becoming even more acceptable in today's society. So I'm not against it. In fact, I'm kind of for it.
For the most part, it looks like we're having a generational disagreement. So what does this mean for the future of job employment, and what does this mean for the future of tattooing in our society? Many employers are from the older generation and seem to have their own sets of norms and values. What will happen when this younger age group, with their own sets of norms and values, apply for employment? Let's try to further understand why people make the decision to tattoo themselves in the first place.
I think, there's sort of two concepts or a couple concepts in sociology that might be useful to think about, and one is sort of this notion of identity. So both psychologists, sociologists, social psychologists, they've all studied identity, and identity is something that can be defined in a variety of ways, but one way is to think about it, it's your own individual conception or expression of yourself. But it can also be, identity can be something that's a group sort of phenomenon. So it's also can be about having a group affiliation, all right? So identity then can be marked, or you could use the term sort of identity marker. So you can create identity markers that sort of say this makes me part of a group.
I've seen lots of ways in which they're used for very personal meanings, and whether it's to commemorate people that you've loved, people that you've lost in particular, family members, you see a lot of that, as well as expressions of love, and certainly profound experiences or life-altering, transformative experiences, things that are, I like this phrase, identity markers, things that reflect something profound about who you are.
Everyone can have their own specific reasons for getting tattoos. One of the more common reasons is to identify who you are as a person. Another reason could be to honor your heritage, division, or any other affiliation. Finally, tattoos can be used to express something important or meaningful to you. Now let's take a look into the inner workings of a local tattoo parlor to hear what some artists and clients have to say.
My name is Sean Holbrook. I've been here for almost 2 years. The shop's been open for over 2 years. I first started in Florida, came up here after 10 years and started this business with a friend. We work hard. We got a new artist right now that actually helps out even more. I first wanted to become a cartoonist, and when I first got my first tattoo, I fell in love pretty much.
My name is Jay Prince, from Inglewood, California. Been tattooing for 3 years. Got into tattooing just off a hustle, man. Just hard times, had kids. Didn't have much money left in my pocket, and someone told me hop on Craigslist and try to find a tattoo machine, and that's what I did. And that same day I made $300 in profit, so I've been doing it ever since. Used everything I had to come here and been working my way up with tattooing ever since, man. I finally found my, my real niche in life. So I believe it will be socially acceptable just because I've had customers that are full-fledged doctors, lawyers, judges actually here in town and out of town that come just to our parlor to get tattooed, and they're successful in their careers, and they do still hide their tattoos. You can have doctors that are sleeved up from here all the way up and covered completely, and a lot of folks don't know about it, but I think it's starting to get to that point where people are starting to accept it and not just judge. You know what I mean? That's the main problem for me personally, because I do have so many tattoos, is everywhere I go I get judged automatically. I always think couple of different things. It's either gangbanger or prison or just a generally bad person, and as soon as they sit there and talk to me for 5 minutes, they completely change their whole mindset on tattoos, period.
It seems like the older, business-oriented generation views this tattoo phenomenon activity as only done by thugs. So why this association with criminals?
When I was a young adult, which is a time that I probably would have done it if I was going to do it, it was seen as something that almost always was done by men. Rarely, when I was young, were women doing it, number one. It also tended to be people who were perhaps working class.
Sometimes tattoos are sort of conceptualized as deviants. So what's interesting about tattoos, I think, is that traditionally it's probably been associated, with people in lower social classes, or I think when you were talking to Dr. Bozier, like sailors would have them. So they were sort of like more marginalized, and therefore people that would study deviance would sort of be the folks that might look at something like tattoos as a phenomenon. But what's happening is they've become less marginalized, and they're moving out of sort of a deviant status to a conformity status.
Will there be a place for tattoos in the workforce as our society continues to accept and conform to this ideal? If so, will there be a limit? What will be seen as appropriate, and what will remain deviant?
Tattoos I look down upon, obviously the ones that are blatantly offensive, like racist, like swastikas.
If a tattoo was racist, obviously I wouldn't like it, but like if the design's cool, I like it.
I think certain tattoos are, I don't want to say unnecessary, but one, they're overdone and kind of pointless.
The ones that I look down on is like them, like one is them weird ass tramp stamp ones. Those ones, not every girl can pull them off. Like, to be honest, like those are not attractive at all.
They just see all these girls running around with a Playboy bunny on their ass, and it's like, why do you have that? You know what I mean? It's like, what is the point of that? Get something that actually means something. That's why I feel like the older generation looks down on us for getting tattoos.
I know somebody who's a tattoo artist who has everything all over their body and like every inch of them, but I mean, that's their body, it's their work of art.
So, you just have to be aware of what the consequences are of having a tattoo and how that impacts a lot of people in society.
I think that along with this need for affiliation and attachment, which we all have, because we do know from sociological research that one of the most negative things that can happen is social isolation. So along with that need for attachment, though, is a need to be an individual, to sort of say, I'm me, different from everybody else. You're trying to create a sense of self separate from that group. So I thought about that, well, fads, the challenge with fads is that, like, you start doing it, you're really conforming to the peer group. You've just changed who you're conforming to, but then trying to stay to your parents or your previous generation, we're not conforming to you, we're creating this new way of doing. So it struck me that tattoos are almost like this perfect sort of like way of doing both at the same time. Because what happens is you get a tattoo to say to the previous generation, like, you're no longer my reference group, I'm with these folks here. But then all of us can create our own tattoo that's different, and I think there's a real emphasis in the tattoo community. You try to get the best tattoo artist, and there is this phenomenon of tattoo as art. And so what you do is you try to get the best artist, and then you can even one-up somebody like, well, my tattoo was done by, so-and-so, this great artist. And then you try to create almost like individual stuff that sort of says, like, I've got the coolest tattoo ever. So it's a way of doing conformity and non-conformity at the same time. It's a way of creating generational distinction, but and a developmental shift to your peer group all at the same time. So it sort of is almost like a perfect storm of ways of being social and individual at the same time.
J.H.